What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. U.S. military prepares for possible Sudan embassy evacuation. It says that the Pentagon is moving additional troops and equipment to a naval base in the tiny Gulf of Aden nation of Djibouti to prepare for the possible evacuation of the U.S. embassy personnel from Sudan. Two Biden administration officials say that the deployments to Camp Lemonor in Djibouti are necessary to do because of the current uncertain situation in Sudan, where fighting is raging between the two warring factions. The officials spoke on condition of anonymity to describe the administration's planning for a potential evacuation. That planning got underway in earnest on Monday after a U.S. embassy convoy was attacked in Khartoum, the Sudanese capital. In a statement Thursday, the Pentagon said that it will deploy additional capabilities to the region to potentially help facilitate an evacuation of embassy personnel from Sudan if required. Of course, it will probably do a good job on this one, but you can think of a recent event where we didn't do such a good job on evacuation. We'll talk about this and much, much more on tonight's show. Welcome to Marfoogle TV. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? Happy 420 to those of you that are celebrating. What a crazy thing that is. When I was a kid, nobody really, they talked about it, but it was only in small circles. Now it's all over Twitter because Elon Musk, of course, trolls everybody with his 420 launch. And again, lots of crazy things to talk about, including that launch, which exploded. But apparently that was a success. They called that the icing on the cake. That it even got off of the launch pad. As we talked about last night, they said that they were actually worried about it melting the launch pad. So we'll show you that later. We'll show you some tweets. But first, to introduce my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
And just a reminder, if you are new, you can always go over to marfooglenews.com. You can find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. And, of course, you can find Overflow. The Overflow has all of the, essentially all the stuff that we could not fit into the show or the stuff that is too hot for TV. That would be down at the very bottom. Now, remember, a full bibliography is here. So if we do talk about any, of course, any article, picture, reference, it's all going to be here. So remember that. You can find it at marfooglenews.com or in the show notes down below. We'll talk about the overflow at the very end. But to go back to this first story, so Dex with Sudan, obviously this could be a huge distraction. They could, this could be something so they can cover it on the news for a couple days and possibly distract us from something greater. What do you think?
Well, clearly we're sending in special forces to get and QR quick reaction forces in the area to get ready for this potential evacuation if they aren't already doing it as we speak. So the fact that this territory is under, basically a form of civil conflict, or there's these factioning conflicts going on there, doesn't it's not a good area for us to be in. It's not a good place to be when this is happening. So it can cause obviously a lot of trouble for embassies, especially ours. We're always a high profile target. So, and certainly our past has shown that sometimes when these happen, there's other things that go on, or there are events that turn into clusters, if you want to call it that, and end up being in the news for weeks. So it could be one of those. Let's just hope we send in the special guys, give them what they need. If they need to run an evacuation, it goes successfully and everybody gets out and we reemerge after the dust settles between these two powers that are struggling in that country.
And Jamie, no, you did not miss anything yet. And Linda, thank you for letting her know that. Yeah, first story. So we're just talking about what is going on in Sudan. There's U.S. military preparing to possibly do an evacuation on today. There's a lot of odd stories, so we'll talk about it today. Thank you, Mary Beth. Let's see here, Frank Short, Neil. Thank you, Baron Saturday. Thank you, Lolita. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Shannon Crow. Thank you, everybody that has made it here today. I found Waldo. Hey, it's nice to see you guys, and thank you. Thank you for everybody that has already popped in over on DLive. Marfia Johnson says, this is the best show on DLive. Adam Dex, you are the greatest. The shout is awesome as always. Patriot DQ, thank you for following, and everybody else that has just joined us. So thank you for the replay watchers. If you're watching this tomorrow to your cup of coffee, this is going to be a shorter show. Once a week, we're testing out shorter show. It's going to be about minus 5 or 6 stories. So we've crammed it down, and most likely it'll be about an hour rather than 2 hours. So just get your popcorn and let's watch the world being destroyed, unfortunately. SpaceX first Starship launches on epic test flight and explodes in a rapid, unscheduled disassembly. And of course, that's the trolling. Of course, when they did a previous test, Elon Musk said it was a slight anomaly. This was about 1.5 years ago, where it was the pod that was supposed to hold people, and they tested it, and the thing just literally got obliterated. It just blew up. And they said it was a slight anomaly, and then somebody leaked the footage of it, and it was essentially vaporized. And it was kind of funny. They called it a slight anomaly. This was a rapid, unscheduled disassembly. Essentially, it exploded in air. It was pretty fascinating to watch. In fact, there's a video that is also linked. This is the actual launch. It is really crazy, and as I tweeted, it's really crazy to think about. It's hard not to watch something like this and not wonder, not have a sense of wonder of what we are going to see in our lifetimes, and even more so, what our children are going to see. It's very, very crazy to think about. The size of this cannot be underestimated. Like it is just absolutely giant. If you understand how big a regular rocket is and then how big this thing is, it's pretty incredible. The main rocket, I think the top of this thing is as big as most rockets with all of their stuff on it. So it did end up exploding, and they say that was icing on the cake, because essentially their main goal for this, whatever billions of dollars they spent on this, their only goal was to get it off of the launch pad. Isn't that right, Dex? Like the one of the only goals they had was just to make sure that it didn't melt the launch pad. And Elon said yesterday it would even go boom, or it might go boom.
Exactly. So this was a test. This was all about, as they refer to it, collecting data. So they probably had sensors all over the place. Everything's got computers on it. They're able to check everything as it's happening in real time. And their goal, like you said, was, can we get all the rockets to fire, all the engines, 32 Raptors, can we get it to fire, and can we get off the ground? And that was success. That was their only success. Now, they had planned, if it could go further, the next stage was to go and remove the bottom rocket and go to the secondary rocket. And it was supposed to go into the spin and then not disassemble, but break away that one part. And that's when that didn't happen. They didn't make it to that part. It just kept spinning and flipping, and that's when they went into the rapid unintentional disassembly, or the RUD as they call it, which by the way is a space term. It actually is an old military term from probably before the 70s or in the 70s, is where that came from. He didn't actually coin it. So I think a lot of the terms they use are things that we just don't hear about because it's probably used in NASA a lot, at least behind the scenes, for how they describe anomalies or rapid unscheduled disassembly, because they don't like to use words like, hey, it blew up.
That's a troll, though. Rapid, unscheduled disassembly. I'm sure that will be used for when robots are walking down the street, policing our streets. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, this is the specific rocket that's supposed to take people to Mars. So it's kind of nuts. And yes, this one blew up. But one thing that you notice, and there's a clip that surfaced about 2008 of Elon Musk, and I think he might have posted it. He responded to it saying "baby me," but in 2008 he was talking about Tesla, and reporters were saying like, who's going to buy a $120,000 car, and why are these so expensive? And these are basically just for the elites. And he said, yeah, in the beginning they're going to be expensive. In the beginning it's going to be very, very expensive. This is a new technology. This is something new that. To get it in, to get it out there, yes, it's going to be expensive at first, but as we build them, it will get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and eventually it will be available for everybody. Now, fast forward to 2023, there is a $40,000 or $35,000, whatever the Model 3 is, a cheaper Tesla car, which now I see everywhere. I'm in Washington, so everyone has those Tesla 3s. To me, honestly, Teslas used to be special. Now they're not. Like if I see Teslas so much, it's like they used to be. I remember the first time I saw a Tesla, it was like, whoa, that is the sexiest car ever. And that was, of course, like the sexy Model S or whatever, the fancy one. But now I see Tesla so much, even the X's that have the gull wing doors, and I'm just like, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but now they're everywhere, right? But the point is the prices have come down. They are saying the same thing about this, that in 10 years from now, that people will be going to Mars and it will be cheap and affordable to where everybody can go to space. Now, if that is the truth, then, we may actually see space. If it is not the truth, or something gets destroyed like the world in between, then I guess, all of the folks that are arguing if it's even possible to go up there, it will be solved relatively soon, or we'll have something so bad happen that I don't think anybody will care. Dex, go ahead.
Well, I find it fascinating the amount of overhead that it takes to launch a rocket. Like if you could just envision like this command control room that's got all these people, there's all these parts, and it's rather simple in the sense, but it's super dangerous because all these things have to work at the same time. And I just think about like space flight will never be cheaper until they come up with a different propulsion system. At least that's my opinion, because it seems like the propulsion system we use today, which is rocket technology, is so finicky and requires, so many, every little dot and T has to be perfect. And, think about an airplane, like there's a whole lot that goes into reviewing that airplane, but to make it take off, it's, it's pretty simple now. The jets fire up. They've been running for thousands of hours. It's not a big deal. They take off, they land. Planes, people who own private planes take off and land all the time, right? It's not like you need a whole crew to make sure you can get off the ground safely. Maybe in the commercial airline you do have a little bit larger crew because you got a lot more moving parts for all the people. But the point being is, it just seems ridiculously a ton of overhead to think about using this type of technology as a form of space travel. And I really, I sort of think fast forward like what we look at in the movies and in Hollywood with other space movies and ships that can take off from a planet and go into space just normally, like you would see in a movie. We've got to get to that level of tech before this is going to be sort of a main type event, as opposed to an elite. And when I say elite, I mean like, how many astronauts live in your neighborhood? Like nobody probably knows. Maybe somebody in our chat might know an astronaut, but it's not like we all know astronauts. So they're very rare. And the people that get to go to space, it's very rare. if that's a real place to go to.
And I finally met somebody who says they and I know they personally know a bunch of the astronauts, and that was somebody that we had on our Spaces, which was tricorn foil. Anyways, it was actually looking into what he's done before. It seems like he's actually hung out with these guys. But yeah, we've said that before. Like, nobody actually knows an astronaut. We've had a couple comments like, "Oh, my brother's cousin is one," or this or that. But I mean, there's a very tiny percentage of people that have gone to space supposedly, and yeah, it's going to be an argument for a long while. As far as the price coming down to where we can fly, look at how far it's gone in 60 years. You should be able to say, well, then in 10 years, there's no way we're all going to be flying up there. I think in 10 years, even if we advance super fast, we have new jet fuels, we have all of this, I think it will only be the extremely rich that get up there and are able to fly. Dex, go ahead.
According to statistics or the stats that are out there, only 622 people out of the entire population of our planet have ever actually that they claim have been in space. Only 622
out of 7 billion people. I mean, that's not even a point. That's like 0.01. I mean, that's a lot of zeros. So if you do know somebody, that's kind of like you know somebody extremely rare. It's not like knowing somebody who works at Boeing or something. That's like everybody. And so what did you think of the launch? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you, everybody over on DLive. Very active over there. Cognitable, thank you, guys. Hello, Fugel family. Yobi, hellos. Hey, Phil Billy. Thank you, Sean Penmanrod, for gifting everybody Marfia badges. Thank you, all of the Marfia members over there. Thank you. Kimbria, Patriot. Thank you. Digital Mouse, Wiz, Tartan Granny for being there. And yeah, thank you, Sean Penmanrod. Thank you, guys. Thank you for gifting out those badges. And officials apologize after the emergency alert test sent in air to cell phones at 4:45 a.m. Okay, so I was, folks, I actually got a bunch of calls from different folks I know in Florida. And at first they were like, hey, you got to cover this. Like, something's wrong. No one's ever gotten a 4:45 emergency alert, and of course it says it was a test, and I ended up posting it. I ended up posting a example of that. So let's, Dex, actually, can you get the image I posted of the phone with that alert? I posted on Twitter about something like 6 a.m. or something, or 6 something a.m. My time. But yeah, if you see that. I'll show that to people. It was essentially all of the cell phones woke people up. I mean, this is something that, is super loud. It's super freaky. They never do it in this kind of time frame. Or at least this now afterwards, they said that it was by air. It said emergency management officials said an emergency alert test issued at 4:45 a.m. Thursday was sent out by mistake. So I just want to let people know, when there's things like this, that's very creepy. They never do these kind of mistakes. And since the false missile alert in Hawaii, it's definitely more scrutinized and of course criticized when something like this happens, and it makes you wonder what's actually going on. It says the whole of the emergency management community apologizes for this error, and steps will be taken to prevent it from occurring again, officials said. So as we know from the false missile alert, these systems are not just a button. There's no Staples button that you push to put these alerts out. It is a drop-down menu. It is a confirm. It is another drop-down menu. It is a confirm. You pick the areas. It is a confirm. It is a multi-step process. For somebody to do this, either they were told to do it as a prank, or this is something that is just very, very odd. That's why I said, just keep your heads on a swivel in Florida. It always makes you wonder, or if it is being hacked, if these systems are being hacked by others. And we'll talk about later, there's airports that are being hacked. There's air traffic control in other countries are actually under somebody else's control, apparently. And of course, we just over this last week covered that Southwest has had a nationwide grounding due to a technical error. This is the second time. Like, come on. I know Southwest is horrible. Anybody who's flown on it, most of them are pretty bad. But that's too much to believe. Two groundings of that kind of level in 1 year. That seems like somebody's hacking. Dex, go ahead.
The tweets and screener. And the other thing I wanted to add was DeSantis did come out and say whoever's responsible for it will be fired. So at least that's what his spokespeople said that he said. So
the emergency alert?
Yeah.
Well, so people freaked out. I mean, went to all the phones. Did you guys get it? Are you in Florida, and did you get this? So yeah, look at this. This is a gentleman's phone. It says test. This is a test of the emergency alert system. No action is required. And this was at 4:46 a.m. People were pissed. This woke everybody up. And the thing is this was trending on Twitter by the time I posted. And I was like, holy moly, there's so many people. Everybody ran to Twitter to check out what was going on. Because even if it's a test, people still are like, whoa, this is odd. This stuck out. These tests do not happen like that at 4 in the morning because they are involuntary in most cases. They will beep and they'll go beep loud. I mean, if somebody had to work at 8 a.m. and they got woken up at 4:30, they get pissed. People were very, very pissed about this. It makes me wonder, though, if they were fired, if it was an error, then this was a person who purposely did this, or they had to go through all of the steps and drop downs to do this. I don't know. That's why I say Florida, keep your heads on a swivel. These things are very odd. There's a lot of potential outcomes, including just somebody was a dumbass. Or they did it as a 420 joke. Maybe they were trying to do it at 420, but it took 25 minutes to get to people's phones. I don't know. Who knows? And then Mexico's president saying the U.S. is suffering from moral decay offers some advice. Dex, do you want to cover this?
Yeah, he definitely has plenty to say about us. Some of the advice he's giving, so this is coming from the leader, and it says, take a better care of your kids and try more hugs. Cut down on hugs and bangs. Keep your cops, troops, and spies off our turf. Leave DT alone. Those are just a few of the things he's been saying, and it's kind of odd, I guess, in one way that this leader from the country that we share like a 2,000 mile border with is making some pretty harsh statements towards our country. It's something you would actually, it even says in this article, something you'd kind of hear from an adversary, not what should be a close ally. So definitely some shade being thrown our way. And I don't know, do you think he's spot on in what he's saying? Do you think that he's right in saying we're suffering moral decay and his suggestions for us are good? Or do you think he's where everything's fine and he needs to keep his mouth shut? What's your opinion? Tell us in the comments below.
Well, I don't understand the cut down on the drugs and guns, because like a lot of half of those come from his country. But as far as take better care of your kids, I agree with that. Keep your cops, troops, and spies off our turf. What's going on down there that he's saying that? I just wonder what more is behind that.
We did threaten. I'm sorry to cut you off. We did threaten to. Some people in Congress threatened to say, "Hey, why don't we, shell across the border towards the cartel?" They said, "Why don't we send troops in?" And then, of course, as we reported last night, he was upset when he found out from the leaks that we had been spying on him.
And he said, "I'm glad the president puts the gringos in their place," said Arturo Robles, 51, a flower vendor in Mexico City. "It's not fair when the gringos say that it's all our fault. They are the drug addicts." So, yeah, the drugs are coming from there, but I guess he's technically correct. All the addicts are up here, right? And thank you, Desert Nurse. I appreciate your support. I missed you yesterday, and thank you for the super chat. And it was done at the very, very end of the show. So thank you. Ilea, thank you for your support yesterday. Bus Pants, Itchy Yonder, Andrew Golden, thank you. I hope you made it to tonight's show. Ian DeBow, Rita Dawn, Of course, Charles Goki, Carol, Zen1AZ, thank you for saying hello. And of course, Joseph Newhouse, Michael Tanner, Nana of Montana, K. Parker Fraser, and Ray the Way, and Fairies of Venus. Thank you. Sweating Ministries, I hope you're doing okay. And Jared Wesk and Dominic Spiato. Haven't seen FG in a couple days. Kenny Crowder and Bible Talk 777. Hopefully the Fugel fam's doing well. And then confusion reigns over the flash in skies above Kiev. It says a flash in the sky over the Ukrainian capital on Wednesday prompted confusion and alarm as city authorities said that it was caused by a NASA satellite re-entering the atmosphere, but the U.S. Space Agency denied involvement. It said a bright glow was observed over Kiev around 10 p.m., the head of Kiev's military administration, Sergei Popko, wrote on Telegram. An air raid alert was activated, Popko said, but an air defense was not in operation in the besieged country fighting a Russian invasion. It says, according to preliminary information, this phenomenon was the result of NASA's space satellite falling to Earth. Okay, people need to wake up right now. This is why people should have a basic plan. And, oh, well, who cares? Something falling out of the sky. There were not only Starlink satellites falling out of the sky, but then when we covered that, they said that about 14 more were on their way. If satellites are falling out of the sky, then the space war has begun. This very well could be a sign of something to come. And satellites, GPS, and all of these things, these are things that the military has been drilling for years. If they knock down our satellites, then we're in a lot of trouble. And this would actually, if this is tests and they're basically practicing it, that's not good. Because one of the biggest plans that they've war gamed out, China and Russia, is knocking out our satellites and turning off our power. It's one of the first things you do if you do an invasion or if you start a war, or if you are preemptively going to strike, EMP and things like this. This is why this is such a big risk. Because if they send a nuke over, then we send a nuke back. If we do an EMP, then we usually have to respond in kind. So we could EMP Russia or China or anywhere who hits us with this. But we don't just send 50 nukes their way if they EMP us. That's why the thing is EMP won't directly take lives. They say 90% of us would perish because our infrastructure would go down. If something was to go down, of course, everybody says, the United States military is the biggest, the baddest. But one thing that would really throw a cog in the wheel of us fighting any war is if we also had to put resources and all of our National Guard and everybody that's here into putting things back together. If you saw how Hurricane Katrina went, even with the help of the military, it was a pretty big disaster. Now, imagine Hurricane Katrina across the entire country, our entire grid going down. And on top of that, no satellite communications. Obviously, things are being done. In Taiwan, there's been actual hard lines cut underwater, which makes people think, what if our hard lines are cut between us and Europe? So if we don't have satellites, we don't have navigation, we don't have all of this. Luckily, our military has been preparing for that and even flying jets and drilling to not have power, not to have satellites, not to have navigation, not to have all of that stuff. We know because they've done it multiple times. So one of the scarier things is if we have some sort of preemptive attack on us. Many preppers like myself, we have been prepping for this as far as this is one of the bigger things. Now, people can call you crazy, but if you agree with me, you don't have to convince anybody else. This is what you think, and you have a right to think what you need to think. Nobody has to believe me on this, but I believe that it is very likely we are going to have some sort of cyber or some sort of event like this. Dex, so satellites coming out of the sky, if they do confirm it, or they just deny it because they can't find out, I think that they could put out something and say, oh, well, it had a CBC connector that went bad, and that's why it fell out. It was no big deal. I don't believe this. This is too many satellites falling out of the sky and too many objects being seen coming out of the sky.
Oh, yeah. It certainly does seem like a lot has been reported recently in the last year or two. It's gone up, and especially in the last months over what we've seen for the last year or two. So, but this satellite, according to tracking systems, third-party tracking system, looking at it now, it's still in orbit, and that's what that's what they're saying. So a lot of people were confused as to whether or not it was that, whether or not it was an air defense like the new Patriot system or some other air defense system going off over Kiev. And others were saying it was just a meteor. It possibly could have been that. And I think a lot of people are now going back to the meteor story because they're saying that the Reese is still up in the air. So they're saying it's not it. But I guess we don't, none of us really know. Like, we just have to go by what people tell us. Again, like, you can go look at the tracking systems that are out there and you can see the Reese still up there. But yeah, that,
I think
that's just what they tell us.
I think that they're full of crap. I think that if something like this happened, they can easily go into whatever things are tracking these and they can input that it is still up there, or they can switch things around. They can change numbers. I wonder if anybody follows this very closely, if they saw anything, noticed anything odd, or if the blip went off and then it went here or that. They can go in retrospectively and change everything. Again, they said, but NASA spokesman denied this assessment, telling AFP that the satellite in question was still in orbit. Was it a different satellite? Was it a meteor? What do you guys think? Do you think that they would lie about this, especially after so many other satellite instances in just the last couple weeks? Not to mention some of the leaked information that came out of the first leaks, not the later ones where it was very conveniently backing up the narrative. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and since they did announce that Reese's coming down, that it has to come down at some point. So they're going to have to report on it. So we're either going to see that event, or it's going to happen and it won't be seen, and they'll just say it was taken care of.
Or they could never let disaster go to waste, and they could use that period of time to test something that would fall out of the sky. And if we see something, they go, oh, that's Reese, which in previous articles, they actually thought that it already came down. I think this was miscommunication and they didn't tell about what was going on or something, or they're covering something up. That's just my opinion. What's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. If they take out the Dutch Bros, that's it. Game over, man. Well, if they take out Dutch Bros Coffee, I'll be really offended. But that's a little different. Yeah, they would lie, Tartan Granny says. Yeah, I wish they had the money that Starship cost when that went boom. I would take 1/3 of it. Hack Marine. I know, right? Well, my thought. It's crazy how much money they spend just to. It's like a big firecracker. My fourth fight with it. Freebird, what is happening? Stormy 7572. Baron Saturday. We've got Gary Armstrong, and Mike Bravo. We got Marfoogle. What more do we need? Marfoogle is a way of life. It is not me. I am Adam. Marfoogle is I was going to say the consciousness, but that's like new age BS. It is the audience. You are all Marfoogle. We are all one with the Marfoogle. One with the Marfoogle. Sign Digger, thank you. Life is better on stilts. I'm a big kid now. Woot woot. I'm a big kid now. Oh my gosh. Is that a diaper commercial slogan? That's awesome. Very unique. All right. And then before we move on, oh man. So this just came in clutch yesterday too. After my show last night, we only lost power for about 25 minutes, but we had a windstorm roll through and we lost power. And luckily I even told you guys I was charging my Flex and my X2s. And we ended up needing to use it. But luckily, it was literally like they fixed it right away. But if you haven't already, go check out the Energy products. So they do now have the new Flex Tactical. To go to the Flex Tactical, that is the new one that was designed with help from the U.S. Air Force. That one is the most tactical version of this. But to go back to what that is, you would want to learn about the Flex 1500. It's a modular system. It's a solar generator. So there's the head unit which inputs the power, and then you can actually choose how many batteries you want to put underneath it. They work like Lego. It's modular. You can actually add different bricks that change the overall performance or the input or even the charging capabilities or even how it works. And then those bricks will end up changing the unit overall. There's the all new UPS rapid charger, so that you can actually insert in between, and it will charge it in an extremely fast measure, and it turns it into an uninterrupted power supply. Basically meaning you can have, say, your fridge plugged into it plugged into the wall, you lose power, it automatically switches over. That's called uninterrupted power supply. And it can now do that with the new rapid charger, which is almost out. And then, of course, you can expand it up to 96 batteries. This gets its power. Either you can charge it like a battery bank, only it's a giant battery bank, or you can charge it from solar panels. And most of the packages actually have with either 2 or 4 or 1 panel. And you can charge it respectively with however many panels you have. You can charge it faster or slower. And you have unlimited power from the sun. What is really cool is you can also add a mod that changes it so where instead of 4 max panels, you can actually add a mod that allows it to have 12 max panels, which triples your charging time. So if you want a real as far as high quality solar power system, this is it. There are a bunch of crazy made in China, knockoff brands that are selling YouTube ad things. But I would highly recommend getting one that will absolutely work in an SHTF situation. The reason why people get these ones is it is one of the best brands. It's reliable. And of course it is so, as far as the purposes of this, it vary so greatly. You can use it for so many different things. So go to marfooglenewscom/energy. Very awesome. Or you can get the built-in X2. Well, they still have them. These are going to be shipping out quicker if you want something right now and you kind of just want a single unit that does all. You can also go over and check that out. And our discount that applies, that was stacking on top of the X2 and the LT. So make sure to go check that out. These are silent, so they don't make noise, and there's no $5 a gallon gas. Not only that, you can use them inside the house without having any kind of nasty gases that come with it. So it's really cool to have, and it definitely comes in clutch. If you lose power or if you've ever lost power, then you know why. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. And then warning, Russian hackers have infiltrated European air traffic computer systems. Or at least that's what they're saying. This may be a tee-up, and when I say tee-up, you guys most likely know what I mean, where they're putting out an article, they're putting out the news of this, and then later on something greater could happen, and they have someone to blame. A Fantastic Freddy style. It says that Eurocontrol, the European Air Traffic Control Organization, revealed on Thursday that pro-Russia hackers were conducting a cyber attack on its website. Fears have developed that Moscow may intervene with crucial infrastructure in Europe as the cold conflict with the West escalates. It says the hack began on April 19th, but had little impact on air traffic control operations. According to Eurocontrol representative, the agency's operational systems were safe and secure, although communication was disrupted from both internally and internationally. So they're possibly going after things, after the different ways we can communicate internationally. The attack disrupted the website and web availability, the Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday. However, the agency has promised to continue communicating with its roughly 2,000 staff via commercial means. So they've promised to continue communicating with its 2,000 staff via commercial means. So obviously it did screw some things up. It says Eurocontrol manages cross-border air traffic across European national airspace and provides air traffic control for civilian and military planes in select regions. This is scary. This is the scary kind of infrastructure that gets accessed. If it is them, and if it is them, we need to have our heads on a swivel. Like, there's a lot here, and most people will just brush this off. Most people aren't even going to know about this. Out of all the articles and all the crazy news, people are going to be focused on the more on the surface kind of social stuff and this and that. The Fugel fam and the rest of the prepper community, this is the stuff that obviously is really great to see this, a lot of our community covering. Dex, that's kind of freaky. The fact that they are possibly getting into the infrastructure like this in Europe.
Yes, that is, and it's a while it may, at least as it's being presented to us, seem not as bad as it could have been, because it's not like they shut down and took over the control systems. It does seem like they did get into important systems that caused them to how they communicate with their employees and schedule and whatnot. So it nonetheless, it is an attack. And what we should be thinking about and worrying about here is, it's been stated by NATO that any attacks against key infrastructure of any NATO country would then, require a response. So we'll have to see if this qualifies. In my mind, it does. It's infrastructure. I mean, this is the air traffic control group, as we would think of it, or consortium as they have in Europe, of all these agencies working together, Euro control as they call it. But yeah, that is a key infrastructure piece. Just wondering if this is enough to cross that line, and they're going to have to respond.
And just to remind you what Dex is talking about, President Biden actually explained that he gave the Russian president a list of critical infrastructure entities to avoid. I gave them a list. If I'm not mistaken, I don't have it in front of me, 16 specific entities. 16 defined as critical infrastructure under U.S. policy, from the energy sector to our water systems. Now, the same thing applies to NATO countries. They were supposed to not touch certain things in the infrastructure. So is this a Fantastic Freddy to start a war? Doesn't seem like the best one. Doesn't seem like it's going to get us all red in the eyes. It's not going to be a Pearl Harbor 2.0. So I don't think this is it. But this could be the lead up or the tee up to something like that. So pay attention, people. This is obviously something. And then Dex, can you cover Iran and what's going on there with its Navy forces?
Absolutely. So Iran's saying that their Navy forces have actually caused a U.S. submarine to surface as it entered the Gulf. So the Navy forces there forced the U.S. sub to surface. And the commander, Shahram Rani, told the state television on Thursday, he said that the U.S. submarine was approaching while submerged, but their submarine detected it and carried out maneuvers to force it to surface as it went through the Strait of Hormuz. So it wasn't able to go through undetected. It went through detected. So it had also entered into our territorial waters, but it corrected its course after being warned, Irani said. So the U.S. Navy said last week that nuclear power guided missile submarines in Florida were operating in the Middle East in support of Bahrain and based U.S. Fifth Fleet. So that's the story. So this is kind of, this is obviously this is chest beating on the behalf of Iran to the store country, because they're trying to claim, hey, look what we did. We're so good. We were able to use our sub technology to cause or force a U.S. submarine to actually surface and reveal its location. We haven't heard any other confirmations. This is coming out of J-Post. It's fairly credible news agency, but it's also there's not a lot of meat and substance here. It's only coming from a quote from the Navy commander of the I country over there. So anyway, that's the story. That keep in mind, a lot of things are happening over there. They just recently said that they were going to attack specifically Tel Aviv and the port there. If anything was to happen, there's a lot of tension that continues to build between those two countries in the ME. And of course, we're always somehow mixed into it at all angles. And there we are with our sub now exposed, but I'm sure it will go back under, and we won't know where it is before too long.
Yeah, and NATO's Stoltenberg visits Ukraine days after Putin ahead of spring offensive. So obviously mentioning the visit from Putin where he supposedly went into UKR, into Kherson, I believe it was. Dex, it was Kherson, right? Where he visited. It was the headquarters.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so they're saying that they're pointing out he visited, now NATO. I think this is more Stoltenberg is going in there and they're working out plans. Something is going on. Maybe they're getting the orders from up above. I don't know. The in-person orders. It says NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg made a surprise visit. We keep seeing these. President JB went there, surprise. And now Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg made a surprise visit to Kiev. When this happens, it makes me think that something happened that the civilians don't know about. That obviously the public was not told about some big event, possibly even, something to do with the things coming out of the sky, something, right? Or they're handing down orders for of this future, offensive, which, I mean, most people understand that UKR is, somebody is moving the mouth, right? And it says a visit to Kiev on Thursday ahead of the summit meeting on the future of the UKR conflict, the latest in a string of officials who have, in recent days, have tried to use their presence there to shift momentum as the conflict enters a new stage. Blah, 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 blah. Shift momentum. I think that this is, they get to say things behind closed doors. The real stuff gets done when people go there in person, because it can't be hacked. It can't be, leaked. It can't, they do this stuff in person. It says UKR's rightful place in NATO, and over time, our support will help to make this possible. That was a quote from Vladimir, Mr. Zelensky. It says NATO is not directly involved in the conflict in UKR. Yeah, sure. Okay. As a coalition originally founded to contain the Soviet Union, has played a leading role in organizing Western support for Kiev in its fight against Russia's invasion, particularly training its troops, facilitating weapon shipments, moving Zelensky's arms up and down, holding them, essentially wiping them, training its troops, facilitating weapons troops. Zelensky has long advocated for UKR to join NATO, which is currently seen as a non-starter, as its accession could lock the alliance itself into a conflict with Russia. But the statements and Stoltenberg's visit itself represent an acceleration of Western support for UKR ahead of a widely anticipated spring offensive, one of which the Kremlin too has sought to capitalize. Now, think about what they're doing on Russia's side, too. They've dug a 50-mile trench for this thing. This thing's supposedly going to be big. UKR is supposedly going to be going into Russia. Not only that, trying to take back Crimea and essentially take... What are they going to do? I mean, as far as the offensive, I could see taking back land, taking back places. But you know that they've actually mentioned even going into Russia? I mean, do they think that the UKR force, even with our hand-me-down gear, that they're going to take on Russia completely? I mean, like, this is pretty nuts. Most people did not support them going on the offensive. Now, I guess you would technically support them going on the offensive. It's just taking back their own land, because that's part of a defense, is taking back the areas that were taken. But something else is going on here. This is about to get a lot bigger, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, what do you think? Like, Jens Stoltenberg visiting, it's kind of, it seems like something's about to possibly change.
Well, it seems like everybody's making their tours because, Zelensky went to the line, Putin went to the line, even JB took a trip and took a train ride in over there. So everybody's been making their rounds. But obviously all of these happening in the last week and a half, kind of significant, especially with this, and they, as they said in the title of this article, the spring offensive, but especially with this notion that there's supposed to be this massive offensive push from UKR happening at some point. They've been talking about it since January. And here we are, almost, we're more than halfway through April, and nothing has really transpired from that. There's been a few little things, but it doesn't seem like a big major event has taken place. So yes, things are, these are all the little things you would expect to see before something big pops off.
And I love how they put the White House framed Vlad's visit as an indication they know things aren't going well for Russia. The president going to, even if it's not the front lines, the president going into their country doesn't look very good for UKR, that's for sure. The fact that he was safely able to go there and come back. But who knows? Maybe that's all BS and wag the dog videos. Who knows? Mr. Putin seems to know that very clearly, spokesman Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters on Wednesday. He is likely trying to shore up his own populace since he knows his military is underperforming and struggling to achieve its objectives through the invasion that we have seen them do for the past year. Even though, possibly, if these leaks were right, then they have lost a lot less than UKR has. In the one of the sets of numbers after they say or before they say that they fudged them, it said that it was like 4-1. Like it was 76 something thousand UKR people that perished and something under 20 for Russia. That seems more realistic. If you just stepped out of this and you didn't know anything about it, you would think Russia would beat that they would be taking out more people in UKR, since UKR is untrained soldiers in the majority of it, or the people that even are using hand-me-down gear that they were trained very quickly on. They're using hand-me-down everything. All of the stuff that all of these countries basically are replacing, they're getting that stuff. Meanwhile, Russia, I just don't, it seems more makes sense. The Karine Jean-Pierre, and again, some people may like this person. I understand that she's got a tough job because any person who is in the White House press speaker or whatever they're called, press spokesperson, they have a hard job. No matter who it is, they're going to get torn apart. But I think that's because their whole job is to literally lie to people's faces and do it with a straight face. Every person who's done that job, they have to be the spin person. And they're essentially reading the spin somebody else wrote for them. And all of it, not only is it just off a piece of paper, but it's just so badly done. They cover up the biggest stuff, and they have Karine Jean-Pierre. So I don't like her, but I haven't liked any of these people because they all have to lie. So maybe she's a nice person in real life, but can't be that nice if you take that kind of job. How would you take a job where you just literally sit there and lie and read lies all day? It's kind of crazy. And do it with a straight face. Like, that's just crazy. And then Vietnam opposes China's unilateral South China Sea fishing ban. It says that Vietnam took aim at China on Thursday for imposing an annual ban on fishing in a vast area of South China Sea, calling it a violation of its sovereignty and urging Beijing not to complicate matters. China has imposed the ban each year since its 1999, and Vietnam routinely opposes it. China says that the ban, which will apply from May 1st to August 16th, is to promote sustainable fishing and improve marine ecology. So Dex, they're actually telling them that they can't fish. That they're going to be basically banning them from fishing again. And now I think maybe since they've been talking to the U.S., maybe they're speaking a little bit louder on this.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we were talking about yesterday, as far as how Vietnam is actually positioning itself and continues to. It's actually been there for a while, but they're becoming much more vocal now as aligning with U.S. interests, or aligning against the whole notion that that China is going to take or control the South China Sea. And yeah, this is just one example. Now, it might be for a right reason. I mean, it might be, hey, it's that you should have a fishing ban during this part of the season, et cetera, et cetera. But it should be their determination. It's their waters. It's what they consider their exclusive economic zone. And because of this, they're now being dictated by this other country. It would be like, our if Russia told our Alaska crab fishermen they can't fish anymore. I'm like, well, we're going to say no. We're going to fish. You can't tell us what to do. It's our water. So yeah, that's I totally get the point. I mean, maybe they would actually adhere to a ban anyway because of seasonal fishing, etc. But it should be their choice. It's their economic zone.
Yeah, so China's just pushing, they're bullying their way in. Obviously, our time in Vietnam didn't go too well. I wonder what if China's ever war gamed or simulated trying to take over Vietnam. I think they probably know that's not the smartest. World could face record temperatures in 2023 as El Nino returns. First, though, I do want to say, hey, thank you for stopping in. Lord McCormick says, rocket blows up. He called it, imagine if someone just wants to clip his heels. Who would not want us to really see what's up there? As I saw it, like, going this way, I could hear everybody's, certain my friends have a certain belief, and I just thought, I'm like, oh, they're totally smiling right now, like, because the rocket started going like this, and then it spun in circles, and then it blew up. It's like, we kind of said that, like, there's some reason, like, it just gets too expensive to do it, and they just cancel the whole thing and say, oh, by the way, we're not going to Mars anymore, right? There will be a certain group of people that will be clapping and going, I told you so. So I guess we'll see. We'll see very soon if this is going to work or not. But they even said beforehand, oh, yeah, it's probably going to fail. In fact, if it fails in the right way, we'll be clapping, which they did. They said that it failed and it blew up, and they were like, yeah, it got off the launch pad. So that was their only goal. It didn't melt the launch pad. And then Kenny Crowder, thank you. Hey, thank you for stopping by. It says, hey, Adam, Dex, and Mods, good evening. Marfoogle fam, stay safe, love your way. And then Be Real Beast, it's payday, so as a civil servant, I'm giving back your taxes. God bless 111. As a civil servant, just don't go postal. Be Real, thank you so much. And then Fairies of Venus, thank you for stopping by as well. I just shouted you out a minute ago, and thank you for stopping by. Same with Bible Talk 777. Much love, Adam, Dex, and Mods, and fam. I'm here, but I'm quiet. That's okay, Bible Talk. Thank you for making it. So, as far as the world could face record temperatures in 2023 as El Nino returns, we've already had insane weather for the last 3.5 years. Just everywhere I can think of. All of my friends live in a place with extreme weather. Ilea down in California, all of you guys in California, you've been dealing with all the fires, and then you, of course, dealt with all the storms nonstop. The freeze that we just had, where 48 of the landlocked states hit almost freezing temperatures, if not way, way under. So this is just getting nuts. It says the world could breach a new average temperature record in 2023 or 2024, fueled by the great change, and the anticipated return of the El Nino weather phenomenon, scientists say. It says that the models suggest that after 3 years of the La Nina weather pattern in the Pacific Ocean, which generally lowers global temperature slightly, the world will experience a return to El Nino, the warmer counterpart, later this year. So whatever you may believe on what is the reason behind this, a lot of us agree that it's been getting nuts, whether it's human, this, that, or the other kind of human intervention on purpose. It's definitely getting nuts. If they're telling us that it's going to be even hotter, I can only imagine the crazy fires and the things that are going to happen. And of course, they're going to say when that happens, that this is all part of this other thing. the worse that the weather gets, this is what I fear. The worse that the weather gets, the bigger reasons they have to change the way we live and say, well, this is the problem, and the solution is we have to all make a sacrifice, and we need to all cut back on this, or we need to change this, or we need to change that. We need to restrict your travel. We need to make sure that everybody is walking or taking the bus or chained to a pole by a water heater in a basement on Epi Island. I don't know. There's a lot of things that could happen here, and that's what I fear. Dex, so Georgia, I wonder how hot it will get down there. We don't get like crazy heat, but we have for the last 2 or 3 years, like insane. It was 118 degrees where I'm at in Washington. Washington had 118 degree weather. In fact, I think it beat your Georgia record of hottest ever
at that time. Absolutely. Yeah. And for you guys, that's ridiculous. I mean, 80 degrees is hot for you, right? But yeah, so this is, they're putting this on the change. They're putting this out as part of that. So we get it. That's always the narrative. We don't really know, at least I'll put it this way. I don't really know what's going on. I have no clue what's happening with what we're seeing in this, these phenomenal record-breaking things, whether it's these record floods or it's record drought or it's, largest, hurricanes coming through, or they're forming at times they've never formed before, or in this case it's going to be really, really hot, or it's going to be really cold. We had the super freezes and super colds, all these things that were just these extreme events that they, at least to ourselves, may feel out of the norm because they probably only happen generationally or less. And if you live through one, you're like, wow, that was crazy. Sort of like we had the 500-year floods where I live, and it was pretty nasty. There was a whole lot of infrastructure was torn apart from it. And of course, if something like that happens once every 500 years, not everybody gets to live through that. So it's kind of a rare event. But I guess the real question I ask is what's causing it? And there's so many different potential angles here. And everything, and plenty of them could just be natural, but plenty of them could also be created. And it's frustrating because the state of where we are in the world is, even if someone actually had a true answer, no one would buy it. Not enough people would buy it. Just like they try to push this one narrative that's obviously been very big coming from one side, and there's enough people that don't buy it that nobody will, we can't get behind it and understand, is that truly the problem? So even if someone came out tomorrow with a very valid explanation, if a whole bunch of people were on that side, there's going to be just as many people that are going to find a way to go against it. And that's what's unfortunate. And I feel like, we're never going to know what's happening, because when the truth is really there, it's going to be hidden, or at least squashed down enough that it sows enough doubt in enough people that we'll never really know.
It's been politicized. It's been split in half. If one side can go, well, there's this study, and this study. The other side will go, okay, well, that study was funded by this company, and this company directly is involved with this person or that person or the person that is doing it. And they both go on either way. It really has turned into a right and left issue. It is this. They are saying this is happening. They're saying there's no evidence of that. Then they go, oh, there's these studies, and they go, that studies are BS. And basically, half are saying this is natural, and then half is saying that this is the end of the world. What's crazy is both sides are saying it's close to the end. It's just one of them is going to be right. Unfortunately, it will be, I don't think it'll be the end of the world. It's going to be a beginning of a new one. And why people don't see this is also there's these agendas, and most people that are totally blind or think that these agendas are possibly a good thing, they don't understand that this is going to affect them very soon. And I bet they'll regret it in a few years. These things that are going in, this on one side of it will actually give the perfect situation for control and restrictions and different restrictions on how you live, how you do everything. So there's that. But as far as this goes, we're all kind of in agreement that something is going on here, and it's whether it's cyclical or whether it's Bob in accounting, we don't know. But it's definitely going to get even crazier. And not looking forward to it if we ever have a day like we did that 2 years ago. That was horrendous. In my car, you know how they have the car thermometer? It's at 136 degrees. And it definitely 100% felt like it. Because the heat in the car, I just couldn't, I couldn't even think. It was so insane. We are hot here when it's like 80. It's 80 and we're like, whoa, chill, get the air conditioner out. Whereas other places in the country, it's 105 and they're like, oh, it's a nice breeze. Here, we would be scheduling our funeral. So, Company 328, thank you for the back-to-back Ninja Guineas over on D-Live. Thank you again for supporting us, and I appreciate it. Light of Vibes, Yobi, DeFi Tyrants, Doubt Her, thank you. And Digital Mouse, Wiz, thank you, and thank you. Phil Billy, hey, thanks for stopping in. Chance and Phil Billy, thanks for holding it down. If you guys haven't checked out, Chance actually has books on Amazon. Again, make sure to go check out his link tree and the Amazon link over here. There's Jem's channel, which I actually accidentally clicked on there. Jem is awesome as well. All of these mods are absolutely great, so make sure to go check all of them. There is great people here, so just very easy to subscribe. Go hit. Ilea, very funny if you want to go check out her channel. Wages World covers all the solar events, and the solar events are only going to get crazier. Some say that those are responsible for a lot of the crazy weather changes. Trinity has amazing work. She does a ton of editing. Rip Curl Readiness, Lisa Hall, RGL Harris, Jammer, Jem, CJ Blaze, Chance, and Bones. All great people, so check out their links. And Fairies of Venus, thank you for your support. Kenny Crowder, Be Real, thank you. Carol, thank you for your support tonight. Dex, let's go over the web only. As we promised, today is a shorter show, so I hope you guys share this one out with anybody who is new. If you have a friend or family that you wanted to share a show with, this would be a good one to do so. And let's go over some of the crazier stuff that's going on here.
Okay, so head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down below in the description. That's where if you're on YouTube, all the links are real easy to get to, like EMP Shield and everybody else. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, it's down below. It's always in the description. But click on that show notes link. It'll take you right here. It's the page we put together for each and every show. As you scroll down, you're going to get past all the information we just covered, and you'll find this yellow bar that says Overflow. That's where the rest of the story is. So just to highlight a few of the things that have been going on in this area, there's a huge gold heist that's happened in Canada. So the Mounties are up there trying to figure out what happened at the airport where they potentially stole some gold from someone. That Pentagon Aero Group, that's going to be in the news for a little bit. They're releasing video, and you can go see that. It's similar to stuff we've seen before. It wasn't all that exciting. They're saying, though, that a lot of the objects that they have been following up on have been spherical, which is also interesting. And then they're also saying that they think a lot of this is potentially coming from our adversaries, it's technology that we've not seen before. So, and then of course we've got Alec Baldwin in the news. They're talking about potentially dropping the criminal charges. So that's there. We've got all the political stuff that's going on between, a lot of it's with DeSantis and T-Man and the fight with Disney and all that. It's all covered there if you're looking for it. And by the way, Dan Bongino said he said his goodbyes on Fox. So he is officially out. He did say it was just a negotiation issue. They couldn't come to terms. So it's not like there was a nastiness over it, but you won't see him there anymore. I'm sure he'll be on his other avenues. And then, of course, we do have the updates going on in UKR and what's been going on there. Also, even some updates in Afghanistan and what's happening there. And a little bit of financial update. So all of that and a lot more that wasn't able to cover, it's all right there on the website. Go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or even easier, just open up that show notes link down below in the description.
And again, if you haven't already, make sure to go and check out. There's at least 3 really big articles there that you should go check out. And then if you haven't already, make sure to go over to EMP Shield. If you do want to protect yourself against an EMP strike or even a Carrington level event from the sun, then you definitely want to go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. It's a device that can actually protect your trucks, your boats, your trucks, of course, your ATVs, your generators, your homes. They make one for pretty much anything you can think of that you would want to keep running after an EMP strikes or a CME. So make sure to go check that out. You get $50 off per device when you go through our code, and you're protecting yourself against one of the most probable disasters out of all of the crazy things that may happen. This is actually one of the most realistic and one of the most prepped for as far as the government goes. In fact, EMP Shield has outfitted agencies like DHS, DOD, and now they are on the DEMSO team helping actually get Texas caught up on the DEMSO team. So go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP to go check it out. When you go over there, not only are you getting a discount, you're supporting our channel. We don't have a multi-channel network. We have you guys, so thank you in advance. And then also there's the new small EMP Shield, the Micro. That one is about 1/3 of the size. It's about this big, and it is extremely good. It's the same coverage. It's, in fact, the same technology, same coverage, only in a smaller package that you can actually put into smaller spaces. So if the original couldn't fit and you ended up having to return it, they've done years of research, and now they have the Micro out. It's a little bit more, but it can fit into a much smaller area. And that is for some folks that couldn't fit it into their more advanced car, or, smaller engine space. So make sure to go check that out, marfooglenews.com. Most cars can just do the regular EMP Shield, and most people can put this in about 10 minutes. All right, and then thank you everybody for stopping in. Thank your mods, especially let's give an M in the chat for the mods. Thank you guys, I appreciate you. And make sure to shout out anybody who has a birthday. We're about to be doing the shoutro. Dex, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
It's not a shout out. It's not an outro. It's a shoutro. support. Looks like you and Fairies of Venus have tied for the biggest supporters tonight. Gotta be real big. I know be real big. I know be real big. I know be real big. I be real big. I know be real big. I know be real big. I know be real.